The Starlight echoes Chapter 15, The Great Pasta Incident. The Wachowski kitchen, usually a place of organized domesticity, had been declared a joint operations zone. Maddie stood at the center island, her hands on her hips, surveyed her volunteer crew with a mixture of love and mounting concern.
Okay, look,
Maddie said, pointing a wooden spoon at the 4 hedgehogs and 1 echidna crowded into the small space.
this is a simple pasta dinner. No powers, no supersonic stirring, and absolutely no combat maneuvers.
I shall treat the boiling of the water with the focus of 1,000 suns,
Knuckles declared, standing over a large pot as if he were guarding the entrance to a fortress. He dropped the basil of 1,000 suns onto the counter with a heavy thud.
I've got the garlic!
Sonic shouted, blurring toward the cutting board. He grabbed a knife, but before he could even start, Tom gently took it out of his hand.
Slow and steady, pal.
Tom laughed.
Remember, we're pretending to be normal today. Normal people don't turn garlic into a fine mist in 0.5 seconds.
Amy was standing next to Maddie. She was carefully snapping the ends off green beans, her movements graceful and calm.
I think it's nice, Maddie. It's like a group project, but everyone gets to eat the results.
Shadow, surprisingly, had taken his post at the sink. He was washing the tomatoes with a level of intensity that suggested he was looking for microscopic contaminants.
The water pressure in this domicile is suboptimal for efficient decontamination,
Shadow remarked. His red eyes narrowed at a particularly stubborn piece of dirt on a vine-ripened tomato.
Just scrub him, Shadow. Don't interrogate him.
Sonic joked, sliding past him to grab a bowl. The disaster started, as most things did, with a misunderstanding of physics. Knuckles, determined to make the water boil faster, decided that the stove's high setting was merely a suggestion. He pressed his palms against the side of the pot, intending to encourage the heat with a bit of echidna friction.
Knuckles, wait!
Tails started to yell, but it was too late. The water didn't just boil, it erupted. A geyser of hot steam hit the range hood, and the pot let out a metallic groan. At the same time, Sonic, startled by the noise, accidentally knocked over the giant container of Parmesan cheese. He tried to catch it at super speed, but his feet slipped on a stray tomato that Shadow had just finished decontaminating. Sonic went sliding across the floor, the cheese container exploding like a confetti cannon.
Incoming!
Sonic yelled, his blue quills a blur as he crashed into the pantry. A cloud of white cheese dust filled the air. In the chaos, the blender, which Knuckles had mistakenly turned on while trying to steady himself, started spraying a half-finished marinara sauce across the ceiling.
Miss Stars.
Amy cried out, though she couldn't help but giggle. She quickly summoned her Pico Pico hammer, using the broadside of the mallet as a makeshift shield to protect Maddie from the flying sauce. Silence fell over the kitchen. Maddie stood there, a single drop of red sauce dripping off the end of her nose. Sonic was buried under a pile of napkins in the pantry. Knuckles was looking at the empty pot with genuine confusion. Shadow was still holding a single, perfectly clean tomato, looking at the sauce-covered ceiling with an unreadable expression.
Well?
Tom said, breaking the silence as he looked at the Parmesan-covered floor.
On the bright side, the kitchen smells like a very fast Italian restaurant.
Amy lowered her hammer, her pink quills dusted with white cheese. She looked at Sonic, who was peeking out from the napkins, looking absolutely mortified.
I think
Amy said, breaking into a full bright laugh.
we might need to order a pizza.
I concur.
Shadow noted, finally putting the tomato down.
The structural integrity of this meal has been compromised.
Maddie wiped her face with a towel, her frustration melting into a laugh.
Pizza it is. But you boys are on cleaning duty. And Sonic? No using the leaf blower in the house this time.
As the group started the long process of scrubbing sauce off the ceiling, the disaster felt like anything but. It was loud, it was messy, and it was perfect. The kitchen is a mess, but the family is closer than ever. The Great Pasta Incident was eventually traded for 3 extra-large pizzas, which Tom and Maddie had wisely ordered with a no-questions-asked delivery instruction. The living room was now a sea of pillows, blankets, and half-empty soda cans. Sonic had reclaimed his beanbag, while Amy sat on the couch with a slice of veggie pizza, her eyes fixed on the television where a cheesy horror movie was playing. Shadow was perched on the far end of the sofa, leaning back with his boots up on the coffee table, looking less like a brooding experiment and more like a kid who was just tired of the day's drama.
I'm telling you,
Sonic said, gesturing wildly with the crust.
the guy in the mask is definitely the gardener. He's been in 3 scenes and hasn't said a word. That's suspicious behavior 101.
Shadow didn't even look over, just reached for another slice of pepperoni.
It's not the gardener, Sonic. It's obviously the brother. The motive is literally written into the dialogue if you'd stop vibrating for 5 seconds and actually listen.
Shadow's right.
Tails piped up from his spot on the floor, where he was sharing a slice with Knuckles.
The thermal signature on the masked figure in the woods was a match for the brother's height and gait.
I do not care for the masked man's identity.
Knuckles declared, his mouth full of crust.
I am merely waiting for the moment the protagonist realizes he must stop running and face his foe with honor. This, hiding in a closet, is a coward's path.
Amy leaned over toward Shadow, a small smile playing on her lips.
Do you think the brother has a reason? Or is he just lost?
Shadow finally looked at her, his red eyes reflecting the flicker of the TV screen. He shrugged, his voice level and casual.
Sometimes people don't need a deep reason to mess things up, Amy. Some people are just looking for a way to feel in control of a world that didn't give them a choice. But honestly, it's a B movie. He's probably just a jerk.
Way to kill the vibe, Shadow.
Sonic joked, throwing a piece of popcorn at him. Shadow caught the popcorn midair without looking and tossed it back at Sonic's nose.
Just stating the obvious. Focus on the movie, Blue. You're missing the part where the gardener gets framed.
As the movie reached its climax, the house felt quiet and safe. The heater was humming, the fire was crackling, and for the first time since Amy had landed on Earth, the weight of being different felt light. Maddie walked in from the kitchen, holding a tray of hot chocolate. She stopped in the doorway, watching the 5 of them. Sonic was arguing with Knuckles about the physics of a jump scare. Tails was explaining logic to anyone who would listen, and Shadow and Amy were actually having a low-stakes conversation about whether the pizza crust was too crunchy.
You guys okay in here?
Maddie asked, setting the tray down.
Never better, Mom.
Sonic said, finally settling down and leaning his head back.
Except for the fact that Shadow is a total movie spoiler.
I'm a realist.
Shadow corrected, taking a mug of cocoa.
There's a difference.
The night stretched on, the credits rolled, and eventually, the group drifted off into a comfortable silence. Amy looked around at her new family, the fast one, the strong one, the smart one, and the one who understood the stars. She realized that even though the world outside was watching them, inside these walls they were just kids. The family night is a core memory in the making. As the movie credits rolled and the living room light dimmed to a low warm glow, the family began to disperse. Knuckles had already retreated to his warrior's den, the garage, to sleep on his weight bench, and Tails had dragged his fuzzy self up to the guest room he shared with the others. Sonic stayed behind for a moment, ostensibly to help clear the pizza boxes, though he was mostly just moving them from the coffee table to the counter one at a time at a very human speed. Amy lingered near the porch door, looking out at the frost patterns on the glass.
Hey, Amy.
Sonic said, leaning against the counter and looking at her.
You've been pretty quiet since the pizza peace offering. Hope the horror movie didn't actually freak you out. I can tell Knuckles to check under your bed if you want, though he'd probably just find a stray sock and declare war on it.
Amy turned, a soft smile lighting up her face.
No, the movie was fun. Even if Shadow was right about the brother being the villain. It's just, being here like this, it feels real. It doesn't feel like a mission or a prophecy.
Sonic hopped up to sit on the counter, swinging his legs.
Yeah, I get that. For a long time, everything was about survival. Then it was about saving the world. But nights like this, just sitting around arguing about pepperoni and bad acting, this is the stuff I used to dream about when I was living in that cave.
He looked down at his shoes, then back at her.
I'm glad you're part of the sitting around now, Amy. You make the house feel, I don't know, less like a clubhouse and more like a home.
Amy walked over and leaned against the counter next to him.
You're a good leader, Sonic. Not just because you're fast, but because you care about the frequencies of the people around you.
Sonic's quills gave a little spark of blue. He wasn't used to being called a leader in that way.
I'm just trying to keep the team together and, make sure Shadow doesn't get too bored and decide to start a dark and gritty revolution.
He wouldn't.
Amy giggled.
Fair point.
Sonic jumped down, landing silently on the rug.
Anyway, it's late. You should probably get some sleep. Tomorrow, I was thinking, maybe I could show you the lake? It's completely frozen over, and if you run across it, the ice makes this weird singing sound.
Amy's eyes brightened.
I'd love that, Sonic.
She reached out and squeezed his hand briefly. A quick, warm gesture that made Sonic's heart feel like it was running a marathon.
Good night, Sonic.
Night, Amy?
He managed to say, standing there like a statue until she disappeared up the stairs. Once she was gone, Sonic let out a long breath, a goofy grin plastered on his face. He didn't even care that he still had to clean the cheese off the ceiling tomorrow. He just did a silent mid-air fist pump and headed toward the stairs, feeling like the luckiest hedgehog on earth. Upstairs, as Amy walked past Shadow's room, the door was cracked open just an inch.
You should probably tell him.
Shadow's voice drifted out, cool and casual. Amy stopped.
Tell him what?
That you're better at the singing ice trick than he is.
Shadow said, his shadow falling across the floor.
I've seen your balance, Rose. You're going to leave him in the dust tomorrow. Try not to hurt his ego too much. He's sensitive.
Amy laughed softly.
I'll try my best, Shadow. Good night.
Good night, Amy.
Shadow replied, though there was a hint of a smirk in his voice as he closed the door. The house had finally settled into a rare, heavy silence. The guest rooms were full, the fire had burned down to glowing embers, and the only sound was the occasional creak of the floorboards as the winter chill pressed against the windows. Sonic was in the kitchen, slowly nursing a last glass of water, when Tom and Maddie walked in. They were both in their robes, looking exhausted but wearing that specific soft expression they only had when the kids were all safe under one roof.
Heck of a day, Blue.
Tom said, leaning against the counter next to Sonic.
I think the hardware store guy is still trying to figure out how a 3-foot-tall hedgehog shattered a boulder with a toy hammer.
Sonic chuckled, though it was a bit more subdued than usual.
Yeah? Amy's full of surprises. She's definitely not a damsel in distresses type, more like a damsel in charge of the wreckage type.
Maddie smiled, leaning her elbows on the kitchen island and watching Sonic closely. She had that mom look in her eyes, the one that usually meant she had seen right through a supersonic facade.
She seems like a great addition to the group, Sonic.
Maddie said softly.
She's kind, she's tough, and she seems to have a real effect on the frequency around here, especially yours.
Sonic stiffened, his quills giving a tiny telltale spark.
I mean, yeah, she's great. Great teammate, very pink, good for the brand.
Tom exchanged a knowing glance with Maddie. He reached out and gave Sonic's shoulder a playful shove.
Come on, kid. We saw you on the roof earlier. And the way you were practically vibrating during the movie, you've been looking at her like she's the only person in the room.
Sonic's face turned a shade of red that rivaled Knuckles' fur.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just being a good host, making sure she feels welcome. It's hospitality.
Sonic.
Maddie laughed gently, reaching over to ruffle the quills between his ears.
It's okay. We've seen you around a lot of people, but you haven't stopped smiling since she landed on the porch. Be honest with us, do you have a crush on her?
Sonic opened his mouth to deliver a witty, fast-talking denial, but the words died in his throat. He looked at the two people who had turned his cave-dwelling life into a home, and for a second, he let the mask slip.
Is it that obvious?
He muttered, looking down at his glass.
Just a little bit.
Tom chuckled.
But hey, it happens to the best of us. Your old man here had it pretty bad for your mom when we first met too.
You still do.
Maddie teased before turning back to Sonic.
She's a special girl, Sonic, and it's clear she thinks you're pretty special too. Just take it slow. You don't have to run through this like it's a race.
Sonic let out a long, shaky breath, a small, genuine smile forming on his face.
I've never felt like this before. It's like my heart is doing a spin dash, but I'm standing perfectly still. It's weird, good, weird, but weird.
That's how you know it's the real deal.
Tom said, patting him on the back.
Now, get some sleep, lover boy. You've got a singing ice date tomorrow, and you don't want to be yawning through the romantic parts.
It's not a date, it's a tactical environmental survey.
Sonic protested, though the blush was back in full force.
Sure it is.
Maddie winked, kissing the top of his head.
Good night, Sonic. We love you.
Love you too, Mom. Night, Dad.
Sonic headed for the stairs, his feet feeling lighter than they ever had. As he reached the top, he took one last look at Amy's closed door. Feeling a sense of peace that had nothing to do with speed and everything to do with the flower-scented room, and the two humans downstairs who always knew exactly what he was thinking. Sonic made it to the top of the stairs, still feeling the warmth of that talk with Tom and Maddie. He was about to slip into the room he shared with the guys when a dark shape detached itself from the shadows near the balcony door. Shadow was leaning against the wall, his arms crossed and one leg hooked back. He didn't have his usual mission-ready scowl. He just looked thoughtful.
Tactical environmental survey?
Shadow repeated, his voice low but carrying a dry, amused edge.
That's the best you could come up with, Blue? Even the echidna would have seen through that one.
Sonic jumped about 3 feet into the air, his quills rattling.
Seriously, Shadow, do you have to do the teleporting out of nowhere thing every time? And were you eavesdropping on my talk with Mom and Dad?
I have enhanced hearing. It's not eavesdropping if you're projecting your internal crisis across the whole ground floor.
Shadow said, pushing off the wall. He walked over to Sonic, standing shoulder to shoulder with him in the dim hallway light. Sonic groaned, rubbing the back of his neck.
Alright, fine. I've got it bad. Go ahead, make the jokes. Tell me I'm losing my edge because I'm worried about a girl with a hammer.
Shadow was silent for a long moment. He didn't laugh. Instead, he looked toward the door of the attic, then back at Sonic. When he spoke, his voice was surprisingly soft, the voice of a brother who had lived a lifetime of regrets so Sonic wouldn't have to.
I'm not going to make a joke.
Shadow said.
I've spent 50 years thinking about a promise I made to someone I lost. I know what it's like to have your whole world shift because of one person. It's not a weakness, Sonic. It's the only thing that actually matters.
Sonic blinked, his eyes widening. He'd never heard Shadow talk like this. Not about Maria, and certainly not about Sonic's own feelings. Shadow reached out and gripped Sonic's shoulder. It wasn't a tactical hold, it was a grounding brotherly squeeze.
She's different. She sees the world the way you do, like it's something to be cherished, not just protected. Don't overthink it. Just be the person you were when you saved this town. That's the person she's here for.
Sonic felt the tension leave his quills. He looked at Shadow and saw the sincerity in his red eyes. They weren't just two hedgehogs from space anymore. They were brothers looking out for each other in a house that finally felt like it belonged to them.
Thanks, Shadow.
Sonic whispered.
I needed to hear that.
Shadow gave a short, sharp nod, his usual cool composure returning.
Good. Now go to sleep. If you're too tired to keep her from falling through the ice tomorrow, I'm never letting you hear the end of it.
Hey, I'm the fastest thing alive. I don't get tired.
Sonic hissed back, though he was smiling.
You're a disaster.
Shadow muttered, though he nudged Sonic's shoulder with his own as they both turned toward their rooms.
But you're our disaster.
Sonic climbed into his bed a few minutes later, the words "our disaster" echoing in his head. He looked out at the moon one last time before his eyes drifted shut, feeling more ready for tomorrow than he ever had for any battle.